All right, guys, what's good? Happy hump day to everyone. Welcome in for today's Power of 50 broadcast. Um, I'm going to talk to you guys today kind of off the cuff, off my spirit. Um, I know, I know that there are a lot of times that many people struggle, myself included, with getting ourselves out of the way. And, one of the things I said about, when I talked about domestic violence is people have to get comfortable being uncomfortable with that subject. But the reality is people have to get comfortable being uncomfortable in order to grow in any arena, in any aspect of life. And so that's the conversation I want to have today with you guys. Like I said, it's going to come completely off my heart and off my spirit. It's something that I've been marinating on. It's something from a conversation with a friend yesterday, and I've been marinating on it all day long. And what I know to be true is when something hits me like this, that if it hits me, it's hitting someone else. And so I wanted to come on and I wanted to share sort of my take on how it feels and how uncomfortable and how to navigate that uncomfortable space to allow the universe to stretch you. Really truly allow the universe to stretch you. In reality, you can't grow if you're not willing to be stretched. I mean, when we think about the caterpillar, so that's what I want to talk about today. So you guys know someone um, who tends to get in their own way sometimes, or maybe you allow yourself to get in your own head sometimes, share this message out because we're going to talk about being able to accept the universe stretching us and growing us to give us and deliver to us the very things that we say we want. So, welcome in Power 50 broadcast. This is part of our 50-day blitz on the way to my 50th birthday, which is December 11th. And Power 50 community, I welcome you in. The Ultimate Power team, I welcome you in to that as well. The Power 50 community is created for women to educate, encourage, and empower one another to, kind of move through and navigate through some pain points, how to get over some obstacles that tend to hang us up. More than likely, if you're going through it, somebody else has already been through it. And that's what we're here for, is to build that support system around one another and lift each other up and empower us to do more, be more, and become our true, authentic, best self. Second part of Power 50 community is to work with women who are on the cusp of 50, like me, over 50, or approaching 50, and feel like their best years are behind them. They've given the best of them to everyone else, and now there's nothing left for them. And so here we are, 45, 50, 55, 60, 70. We still have dreams on the table. We still have ambitions that have left unfulfilled. And a lot of times we feel like once the calendar turns a certain age and chronologically we're old or old, that we can't pursue our dreams, that it's too late, that somehow we have to go ahead and just let that go and let it fall by the wayside. And I'm here to tell you, I'm proof positive that I did not really get serious about pursuing my dreams and pursuing my passions and get really clear about what they were until I was 45. Long story short, it ended up taking me all the way back to a dream and a passion that I had when I was in high school and college, but did not manifest itself, and it's still growing and continuing to expand. And so that's one that leads us into today's conversation. Not to let the universe, don't be afraid to let the universe stretch you, because sometimes, we all talk about manifestations of dreams. We talk about making things happen and following our vision boards and doing all of these things. The reality is, sometimes when the universe shows up at your door, you're not really ready for what it looks like. And so then we end up second guessing ourselves and counting ourselves out of certain blessings that truly were meant for us, that really are, when you look at your vision board or you look at the things that you put into the atmosphere and the conversations that you're having with people about what you want for your life and what you see for your vision, life, relationships, and business, that's what we're talking about. Then when we get it, it's not quite what we thought it was going to be, or it doesn't look like what we thought it was going to look like, or it's not in the place where we thought we would find it, right? And I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday, and we were talking about relationships. So, part of my coaching platform for Ultimate Power Coaching is life, relationships, and business. And so, certainly, then as a human being and as a woman, I have my own, journeys in all of those areas, right? And so we were talking about relationships in particular, and I had shared with this individual some time ago, sort of what I kind of thought. Like, I have a pretty clear vision of what I want for a relationship and what I want when I'm ready to settle down and get into a relationship. I kind of have a pretty good outline of the characteristics and the qualities that I want that person to have. And then we all have our, what you're attracted to, like your normal attractions, right? We all have our ideas of, locations where we'll be at, that sort of thing. So, but I had decided that, some of the other stuff's not quite as important as these characteristics and qualities. Because, see, I had let a lot of the other things drive me in the past, and they had not really done so well for me. I had a lot of missteps and bumped my head a lot of times and fell flat on my face more times than I'd care to recall. So this time I was like, if I get into that arena again, I know for a fact that it's got to be based on the individual's character, the quality of human being that they are, what their heart looks like, how well of a communicator are they? There were certain things that I knew that I was going to need for me to feel like this relationship is mutually beneficial. And it's not necessarily about financial stuff. It's not necessarily about material things. It really truly was about what speaks to my soul, what works with my spirit, and what is in harmony with who I am and how I think, and what direction I see my life and my business going. And so, because I feel like, you have to have harmony between life, relationship, and business. So if my life and my business is going a certain way, I need the relationship that I'm involved in to accentuate that. I need it to enhance that. I don't need it to distract or detract from it. And likewise, if I have a relationship that's on point, I don't need my business or other relationship or my life dreams and things outside of the relationship to detract from that. So it has to have a harmony. And so that's kind of the conversation we were having. And it occurred to me during this conversation that many times, unbeknownst to me, until I had this this epiphany, that I had unintentionally chosen, looked for, sought out relationships that reinforced an antiquated, limiting belief. And so, I say all the time, I'm here to disrupt your toxic thoughts and end your self-sabotaging behaviors. Well, guess what? Coach got to coach yourself sometimes. Because when I had this thought, and I was like, that could be considered self-sabotage. But I wasn't, like I said, it wasn't something that I knew about myself. It was something that this just dawned on me, that something that had happened early on in my childhood and how I had seen my mother manage relationships had ingrained something in me that said, I always have to be the one in control, and I always have to be financially independent. I always have to be in charge. I always have to be the one that gets to say yay or nay. I get to give the passes, and I get to take them away. because what I saw from my mother, she didn't have any of that control. She didn't have any of that power. So when we talk about the power of 50, guys, this is the kind of stuff that you start to go through. And there's a lot of reflection taking place. There's a lot of, I'm also working on my next book, Rebranding Trust, while I'm working on Power of 50. So there's just a whole lot of processing of stuff that's going on. And so in this conversation, it occurred to me that I had created when I was 13 a belief that security and safety meant financial responsibility and control. That's not necessarily true. And so when I was having this conversation with my friend yesterday, I was challenged. He challenged me to really think through what that looks like in my life, right? And so I was thinking about past relationships, and I had always been the breadwinner. I had always been the name on the lease, the name on the car notes. I had always been in control of everything. And as many of you know, as an entrepreneur, when you walk away from a guaranteed 6-figure salary and you walk into entrepreneurship, those first couple years are lean. They're learning. There's a learning time. It was a huge, massive learning curve for me to go through to say, okay, how do I navigate on this new budget that I have? And what had occurred to me, and the epiphany that I had, was that that belief that I had picked up when I was 13 as a result of watching my mom be in an abusive relationship had not served me well in the long term. And when I say that you have to be willing to let the universe stretch you, when you see opportunities to challenge those beliefs and to challenge those self-sabotaging behaviors, to challenge those toxic thoughts, it doesn't matter who you are, how educated you are. I'm a coach, I'm a trainer, I teach people. I had to be my own client. And when we had this conversation, I was like, whoa. And so I just kind of shared this aha with my friend, and then marinated on it some more today, where I'm just like, this is an opportunity. Now that I know this, now that I've got a name for it, I can put a title on it, I can put a label on it, I know where to find it, I know how it's packaged, I know what it looks like. Now I can fix it. And that's the piece, guys. You've got to be willing. Let the universe stretch you. It's going to be uncomfortable, but you've got to be. If you want to grow, you have got to get comfortable being uncomfortable. You got to be willing to be bad enough, long enough to get good enough to be great. You have to do that. And it's an awkward feeling. It's an uncomfortable feeling. But man, when you get to the other side, let me tell you. And so I wanted to share that because this is something I always tell you guys, I'm always very authentic with you. I'm very, very transparent. Something that I'm thinking through and I'm processing, how that limiting belief, which I had felt had served me well in most every aspect of my life, has not necessarily served me well in relationships. It's actually left me coming up short more oftentimes than not. And so now I know that going into the next relationship, I have to challenge that. I can't go on the belief of the 13-year-old and what she told me and what she taught me and what she was trained in abuse survival, because now I know more than her, and I'm not her anymore. So I have to behave differently and respond and react in a different way. So that's the message for today, guys. Don't be afraid to let the universe stretch you. Embrace it. There's no way to grow without being stretched. Thank you for joining me, Marci Batiste, your ultimate power coach, America's #1 reality-based success and recovery trainer. No matter what platform you're finding this broadcast on, make sure you click subscribe if you're on YouTube, hit like or give me some hearts if you're on Facebook or any of the other platforms. I appreciate you. I love you. And I thank you. And make sure if you haven't joined the Power 50 community, you do that today. All right. We'll talk to you guys soon. Have a good night.